All right, this is video number 1. I am doing some work. It is a Monday, 12/13/2021, day 1, and it's video 1. This is my way of keeping track of the videos I do while disassembling the engine on this 2003 Mercedes S55 AMG. Now, the engine is known as a M113K. It's a V8. I think it's 5.5 or 5.4 liters. I think they had 2 versions at one time. I'm not sure exactly which one this is, but it has a supercharger. And it's a robust engine. It's an amazing engine. You see them in the E55s. A lot of the AMGs had them. Tons of horsepower, about 500 horsepower, about 500 foot-pounds of torque. And if you're not a car person, well, that's a lot of stinking power for 18 years ago. So I have 2 of them. And people say, well, you're nuts to have 2 of them. Well, when you've ridden in one, you realize that having 2 of them is nice, because these are relatively cheap cars to purchase. And they're cheap to purchase because they're expensive to maintain. And one of the things that's expensive to maintain about these cars is parts. Obviously, it's a German car. I mean, they're expensive to maintain. So I bought a spare. It runs, this one runs. They both run beautifully. They still have some niggly faults, but they're beautiful running cars. So should I need an engine control unit or a brake booster or shock absorbers, I have a ready supply of them. Now, yeah, I understand not everybody can do this, but if you've ever driven one of these cars and had a chance to ride in one, you'll say, wow, that's an amazing automobile. And for 18 years old, it's an amazing car. It really is. Lots of power, rear-wheel drive. But the point is that I am going to re-gasket, reseal, put timing chains, everything on this engine. Now, I've never done this. Let me make it very clear. 5 years ago, I had a hard time changing oil on a car. But I love learning, and this is just part of the journey. So what I decided to do is make sure, as I disassemble it, that everything is fine. And one of the things I'm doing is what's called a smoke machine. This is a smoke machine. It's a smoke leak detector. Now, imagine the scenario that I took the whole thing apart, put it back together, and suddenly it wasn't running right. Then somebody might say, I wonder if it has a vacuum leak. Well, let's put a smoke leak detector on it. Well, I don't know what normal is. So before I disassembled all this, I had put the smoke machine in, hooked it up. Let me get this out of the way, and found some smoke leaking. And I thought, well, this is weird. The car runs beautifully. What I discovered is there are some tabs on the back here, which I'll show you in a minute, which actually leak smoke. It appears they're designed to do that. So I'm going to fire up the smoke machine. Let me get the power. Runs off a 12-volt battery. It heats up mineral oil. You can hear the motor going. Now that's vaporizing the mineral oil. That's all it is mineral oil. So it makes smoke. And it comes out this little tube. Hopefully you can see the smoke. Whee! And that's just vaporized mineral oil. Some of it's mineral oil too. I'll try to hook it back up. I'm never good at doing this one-handed. I'll have to put the phone down, hook it back up. So we're pumping mineral oil smoke into the airbox. This is the airbox on an S55 and an E55. And what I discovered is what you're gonna see. See how there's smoke pouring out over there? And there is actually some smoke here. It's a little hard to tell. Well, I thought, well, something's busted. It's an 18-year-old car. Something's busted. Obviously, something's busted. But look at all that beautiful smoke coming out. It has the identical thing on the other side. It's not as smoky, but it's identical. So when the car is reassembled, whenever that is, it's not running well, and I decide to put the leak detector on the smoke machine, and I see that leak there, I'll know it's supposed to be there. Now we will turn off the smoke machine, just unplug it. And we'll disassemble this little cone, show you how it fits in. So this little cone fits in. You seal off this intake. And then I took rubber gloves and covered up each one of the holes here so that the smoke just wouldn't billow out. Now, I'm going to show you a couple things. See this plastic clip right here on the top? It's a little hard to tell, but there's a plastic clip there. And more importantly, there's a plastic clip on the bottom here, this plastic clip. And that's important because when it's reassembled, you're going to be putting a plastic clip here, the first one I showed you, and the second clip is going to go right there. Now, you wouldn't know that, and I suspect the vast majority of these are broken because it's an old car. People don't know it's there. They're trying to rip this airbox off and it snaps. Sort of makes sense. But the smoke is coming out of this little bracket here. Underneath there, there's air. You can almost see into the air filter if you look hard enough. And that's where the smoke's coming from. I have no idea why they designed it that way. Clearly, they did it for a reason. I don't know what it is. So I'm documenting all the pieces that I'm taking off, how I'm taking them off, what the smoke machine shows, so that whenever I reassemble this thing, assuming I can, I won't have to guess at what I did. Now, there is this hose here, which is a PCV hose, positive crankcase ventilation, and it came right off of there. And you can see all this oil here. There's tons of oil. I don't know if it's necessarily from that. German cars, most cars in general, especially when they're this old, love to have valve cover leaks. And this one is no different than any other German car. And this, I forgot to mention, is one of the plastic intakes. There's a cold air intake down there. A little hard to see, but it's there. And it's shaped like that. And this fits in there. So the cold air comes in here through the radiator, gets taken into the airbox, the device I just took off, and cold air produces more power. And I'm trying to demonstrate where it is. Now, these pieces are 18 years old. They're plastic. They've gone through a lot of heat cycles, so they're fragile. And, but you can tell lots of oil here, tons of oil. And I'm not a mechanic, obviously. I've only been at it a few years, but it looks like it's a valve cover gasket seal leak, which, like I said, is classic for cars that are this old. I don't see any leak here on the oil filter cap, but this is also a famous place for replacing a gasket. So this gasket will be replaced. I'm going to do the coils, the spark plug wires. I'm going to do a compression test and a bore scope just because I've never done it before. I'm going to do it for grins. I'm also pressure testing the system, the cooling system. And so I've got this adapter cap here. Here's the, where did I put the radiator cap? Yeah, it's here somewhere. So this is being pressure tested to make sure it functions correctly, because the last thing I want to do is reassemble this car, discover there's a leak somewhere, and go, man, I wish I had known it when I had the engine out. So that's the story. It's going to be a journey. Day one. Hope you're having a great day. Good time. Love you. Bye.